Now let's talk about eclipses. Let's start with the lunar eclipse. If you remember from our earlier discussion about orbits, so if you follow this orbit for the moon and for the earth, you see something funny could happen here. So if we look at the sun, this is the sun in this location and sunshine, and because we have the earth here, we have total shadow in this case, in this side. So we have total shadow and we also have partial shadow. But moon is also orbiting around the earth, so moving in this direction for the moon, it's possible for the moon to pass through this shadow. So what happens if we have the moon inside this shadow? Basically, there will be no light. And what happens, what we see in the sky, we see moon is moving in the sky, and after a while it starts moving inside the shadow. Then we have the very dark moon, basically it's almost invisible. Then after a while we have moon moving outside this shadow, and this is called lunar eclipse. On the other hand, we also have solar eclipses. In this case, we are looking at the shadow of the moon. So this is called solar eclipse, and this shadow is smaller than previous case. In previous case we had shadow of the earth, which is much larger than the moon. So if we have these shadows, basically these dark areas, they create eclipses. So in order to just distinguish between them, we have the sun, the earth, in this case sun, earth, we have the shadow, so moon is in the shadow, so this will be lunar eclipse. If we move around, we have the sun, the moon, and in this case, moon will create a shadow and the earth is inside this shadow. This is called solar eclipse. Well, this is an impossible case, I hope so, and we don't have this case. Lunar eclipses are longer, usually they are around 2 hours for total lunar eclipse. Solar eclipses are very short, they last around few minutes in the best case, because it's a small shadow moving very fast. One interesting question is why we don't have solar and lunar eclipse every month, because if you look at this orbit, so we have 1 month orbit, and basically within this 1 month we have one passing through this point and another passing through this point. So within 1 month we should have lunar eclipse and solar eclipse, but we don't have it. And the main reason is the inclination or tilt in the orbit. So you can see what's going on in different orbits here. So for example, in this case, this is the sun and this is the moon in this location. We have the shadow, but because there is inclination in the orbit, this shadow will not cover the earth. This shadow can't move or can't be seen from the earth. Or moving a few days away, so we have this full moon, and in this case again we have this shadow for the moon, and this is the shadow of the earth. And if you look at this case, you see this shadow will not cover the moon. So even though we have this dark area, but because of the inclination, we don't have any eclipse. So it means this is not a very easy process. It doesn't happen every month. And basically we have to have orbit match. It means we have to have all 3 objects in the same plane, which is rare compared to a 1 month orbit.